So, guys, first of all, do you all use Copilot in your work, daily work? Lars as well?
Multiple.
Well, I suppose you have to. Yeah, you are Microsoft. Okay, Rob?
Yes, I do.
You do. You said that apologetically, like.
Oh no, not at all. I love it.
Okay.
I love the technology, and I'm also very careful with it.
Okay. Which Copilot? Because there's millions of different Copilots. You said, Jean-Paul.
No, I use GitHub Copilot at home because my team forbids me to write code in the bank. So
They forbid you.
yeah.
Okay. We won't go into that. We talked about some of the problems with code. Will code become... Oh, hello. It's okay. He does that. He creeps up on you, Kevin. He was fondling me before. I had no idea.
I don't have hair. I don't have a beard, man.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Yes. Will code become perfect in time?
I think it's not the goal.
That's not the goal?
Sorry I think it's not the goal. Also speaking from practice, in the bank, we don't want perfect code. We just want working code. Mm-hmm. And we underestimate the dragnet of technical debt, right? That's not understood properly at the right levels. Then again, the majority of our business, if it works, it works. So personally, I don't think we need to strive for perfection either.
As I have to say, as an ABN AMRO customer, that worries me. You don't strive.
Adam, dude.
With my money.
Adam.
Don't wanna...
I'm going to brag a bit now.
Yeah.
ABN AMRO has the highest uptime by far of all Dutch banks. So we focus on being available.
Anybody
and our code
here?
Supports that bit. So
Do you have any other banks here who might beg to differ? Oh, we do over there, yeah. Which bank are you? ING, okay.
Sorry, you lose.
It's on. Let's take it outside.
We can get into a fight during the drinks later.
I'm just trying to say, if our customers want us to be available and trustworthy, not to have perfect code, it's just a vehicle. If perfection is necessary for availability, maintainability, and all that stuff, that's something perhaps.
Yeah. I mean, overall, what you must also keep in mind is really how do you first define perfection? Perfection you would really need to define on a mathematical level what is perfection to know how to optimize your AI against it. And when it is like, it might change over time, you might have to then to adapt the function. And still, there's a second element, you would need near perfect data to train the model. So a nice stream, I think it will be getting better over time, and I guess much more better than now even.
Yeah.
But perfection is a tricky challenge.
I think a cool question is AI going to be able to create perfect code? Because if it can at some point, people don't have to review it anymore and maintain it anymore. The AI can do it, and that's sort of a utopian idea, especially given the current technology, because that's based on inducing. We talked about that today. It's guessing, and hallucinations are intrinsic of the technology. It's getting better and better, but it was also Sam Altman who said bigger models are not going to solve the problem. We need more hybrid approaches, and that requires a new revolution. So perfect code by AI will not take place in the current revolution, maybe in the next, but then still, if you have an AI that creates perfect code and you just need to talk to it, you still need to explain what kind of system you want. And if you have to explain your complex organization, your pension scheme or whatever, it's a long story. And you need to write down that story in a structured way, in a layered way, using reuse and encapsulation, all those engineering aspects that you want in a language that is clear. So coding will never go away.
Okay. So, given that it's not perfect with the current technology, and until the next revolution comes along, what's the best approach to ensure that AI-generated code is without as few quality issues as possible?
Okay. So, from a point of view of quality at the bank, quality is relative. So meaning to say that what we do mostly with software quality at ABN AMRO right now, honestly, is trying to avoid the worst of the worst to happen. Right? The worst of the worst being having...
Still doesn't reassure me as a customer.
Leaking data. No,
You're fine.
being honest here, mate, and I think other banks are not any better. But so if that's your goal, and I think that's a little bit what Lars also said, right? If you currently have developers that go to Stack Overflow, copy the first bit of code that looks credible, put it in an application, then it compiles, you know, push it through the next text stage. AI is not going to make it worse. And hopefully it's going to make it a little bit better. So I'm not that concerned, to be honest.
You're nodding there, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, this is a fair approach, but it remains important to check whether you're not creating too much technical debt. It may work, that code, but if the AI is creating unmaintainable code, or code that's tough to maintain, you'll be bitten by that in the long run, including security vulnerabilities that you overlook. So I believe that some incentives, let's call it enforcement of review and code scanning is important to keep that into check, to make sure that you're not creating the future problems. So I believe all the sentiments of the engineers that I saw that Jean-Paul reported, and I concur with them, but that's the first impression. But what is the longer term effect of the code that's being generated? If it's on par with what you're normally generating, you're still in the same boat. If it's worse, you're creating a mountain of technical debt at high speed.
Okay.
And you must be also very clear, a developer not knowing what he's doing will create today spaghetti code. If you now give him AI, he will just prompt spaghetti code. So
yes.
Overall, it is about making the right education of the people what they want to achieve and how they want to achieve. Like in one example, if we can break down the task, make me a payment system, if he is able to break it down into sub-tasks, what the banking system needs to accomplish in each of his steps and what loops you need to consider, then he can really make piece by piece. And this is much more clear than in just saying, please make me a banking system. It might even do that, but then also the possibility is high that it just copies a complete repo from somebody on the web that maybe has also some code in it that you don't want to have.
Okay, you need to review code, and at the moment a coder needs to do that. Why can't you just have AI? It may sound like a stupid question. Why can't you just ask AI to review the code and fix it?
No, but you're forgetting one thing, and that's that we have the tool set in place to do basic review, right? So like SIG tools, we use different tool sets, but there are tool sets out there, and they are being, as we speak, how do you say that? Complemented with AI capabilities. So we have a security scanning tool, static analysis scanning tool, and the SaaS version now has AI capabilities. So that's also how it comes in and how it's going to help us. We already have it, we already use it. Okay. So from that point of view, it's not a revolution, but an evolution, I would say.
So and that evolution is going to go further.
Yeah.
Let's open it up to the audience. I'm sure you have some burning questions. Any hands going up? For now? Okay, I'll grab a microphone for you. Come on over. Glad you're nearby. Thank you. Here you go.
Yeah, so I have a question. At the start of the day, and Lars, you just mentioned it as well, Luc mentioned that junior developers or maybe like less good developers can create tremendous spaghetti code with AI. On the other hand, I think Lars, I think it was in your session, you also mentioned that the more experienced developers have less benefit to gain from AI or from Copilot. So what is it then? For who is it then used, and where can Copilot or AI be most beneficial in the development process?
In both, to be honest. I mean, the junior developer just really needs to realize that he also can ask the prompt question. You mark some code and say, please, how would you refactor it? And this might improve it. He will see what is refactored, and he might learn how to think about the refactoring. On the other hand, experienced developers really will just use it plainly because they are lazy. Typing the whole line of code is much more work than just making the prompt, because they still need normally always to have a documentation at always. So now they have a documentation as a prompt, and the code comes. It just saves them time. They will love it. It's like they could type everything, every piece letter themselves, but once they realize it, oh, I don't have to do this anymore. Perfect. The same with some code that we have written some years ago. Can you please explain me what I have written here 3 years ago? It will explain. It's like, oh, great. Now I can finish my technical depth of documentation because I don't remember anymore. And still, they must judge it because AI will make the next best guess. There might be circumstances where they just look at like, this does not really fit what I think it should. And this is really a learning experience for both. But really, I guess the ones who never will abandon it are the experienced ones just because they know they have now type less on their keyboard.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add a little bit to that? First of all, Super Mario, super experienced, loves it, uses it because he can't remember all the zillion APIs for the 4 coding languages that he's really proficient in. Nobody can, I guess, but the machine can, so that's a big help. And I spoke to Ryan Salva, he's the GitHub Copilot product manager, and he said that what we see in practice on the GitHub side is most benefit for juniors in, I forgot, he mentioned horizontal and vertical. I think on a horizontal level, so broadening your scope for more coding languages and becoming more proficient in them, and more benefits for the seniors in a vertical, so raising the bar further and further. And in what his experience was that meteors have the most problems with accepting specifically Copilot, that they are at a level where they know stuff, but they're not sure if they can trust it, and they fear of their job. So that was his explanation.
Okay. I've got a question from online, for our people over there, online. From, we don't know where from somewhere around the world. Okay, see who's going to grab this one. What are the 3 best points of advice for an enterprise to securely use AI for software engineering for junior engineers? 3, not 1, not 2, but 3. That's a challenge for you.
Maybe one of us each.
One each.
I can start,
okay,
start
one
with
each.
one.
Go for it, Rob.
I think it's important to motivate them to keep on coding and not just prompting. By not sitting back and just reviewing, by staying more engaged in the coding process so that they maintain or build their skills through experience. If you put them in a position where they're getting code generated and they just review, I believe, and we need of course to experiment with this, and we're just starting with that. I believe that the learning effect is much lower than if they would solve their coding problems themselves. It teaches them not just patience and perseverance and problem-solving skills, but also the coding itself. The best way to learn things is to do them. At the same time, of course, they are, on the other side, they're becoming more productive. You need to find a good balance between staying at the helm and doing a little bit more than maybe would be necessary with the AI, just to make sure that they become senior programmers instead of staying junior.
I mean, in the same direction. I mean, yes, you can prompt your solution, or like you said, you can write it. Once you have written it, you can still ask for advice. Can you explain me what I have written? And when you see if AI says it is this, and this step, you can just see this is what I really wanted to do. Because if AI can read it, you know that you have a good coding style. And then you can still make the other thing again. You say, how would you improve it, or what suggestions do you have? And if there's a much cleaner, better solution, then you can ask again, oh, what have you done and why have you done it? And it will come up, for example, with an explanation, this is this pattern, and this was in this situation better, and you might have not heard of a pattern. Nevertheless, it's like, with all the juniors of the world, it is always very helpful to have at least one experienced person on the team. I mean, also, when I started coding, it was a lot like, here's your task, eat or die. And when I was coming to the point that I could not solve, I asked my senior colleagues. I mean, now it's just the point, your senior colleagues cannot scale infinite, that we all know. So try first to learn the AI solution, and then also explain the reasoning and what you have learned to the senior so that he can give you again advice. Because again, there might be something missed in the process where you have been just unlucky that the training data was bad.
Jean-Paul, anything to add to that? You have your one answer, one piece of advice
sure.
for junior engineers?
If they screw up, fire them. Get a new one. No, seriously.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, pair programming, of course, right?
Yeah.
You can't put a junior in a team without a senior next to him. Or, plus, sorry, that's more than one. AI is no different from Stack Overflow. So they can copy bad code from Stack Overflow. No difference.
I have a question for all of you. If AI coding gets so good, will coding just disappear as a skill?
I have an answer to that.
Yeah.
This comes from a piece I read from a lady who wrote somewhere, if a mail system sends AI-generated mail to another system and the other system has AI and it responds, then you could ask yourself, what's the value of this communication? Does it add value, this functionality? So I think the human factor is in the functionality bit, right? So I can't ask now, perhaps in future, I'm not sure, Rob, but I don't believe that I can ask anytime soon AI to generate functional new banking ideas for me, right?
Okay. We all agree with that.
Yeah.
Any more questions from the audience? Yeah, over there.
A bit related on that. I assume GitHub Copilot is trained by GitHub, what's in GitHub.
Yeah.
And what if a new software committed to GitHub is based on AI? Will it evolve then because it's getting its own software back?
Yes, in the end, it is like this. I mean, this is also what is called the self-poisonous dilemma, because, you know, AI can generate over-generated content. This you can spread in the web, and you also can spread misinformation, and then the system learns the misinformation because it was generating it in the first place. When you just look at now at this software piece, it will not necessarily distinguish between if it was human code or AI-generated code. So it will learn over time, and you might see that there is something like the survival of a fittest for a certain coding pattern. You never know. But overall, once it is a public repo, really think public, the chance that AI will learn it is skyrocketing high.
Yeah. Yeah, Jean-Paul, you mentioned it as monoculture, right? The sort of the echo chamber effect is what you're describing. It isn't necessarily bad. I mean, if you think about it, this way the industry and helped by AI will sort of go over again the same things. They will become cliches, and cliches are boring in movies, but in coding, it can actually be helpful to work in similar ways repeatedly instead of coming up with new ways to do things all the time.
But will a new
Sorry, one microphone.
Sorry, will a new better way then not get covered under the snow of all those old, not so good ways?
If you keep on putting in sort of human-generated code, I think that you can deal with that problem. Yeah.
It's also how you define better. Another thing Ryan and Salva told me that was that they're focusing heavily within GitHub on the quality of the outputted code, right? So we don't see that, but under the hood they do their own analysis on the generated code. So they already filter it with bad ideas. You could argue who's GitHub to decide for me what's good and bad, right? But
Okay, answer your question. Ravish?
Yeah, we're talking about what AI can do now, a Copilot. It can assist with coding. Do you think we will see AI evolving to the point of actually being able to do maintenance? For example, by prompting an AI saying, hey, this regulation changed. can you update the software to work with it?
If you really aim for it, you could. But the question is really, do we want for automatic feedback loops? Because, this is the one thing where the very big minds in the field advise against. You really see it with Hinton and others. You also see it with Suleiman, who really says, we are not currently in the stage where it's advisable that AI is allowed to change its own code. Yes, it would get better over time, but you don't know in which direction it will optimize in this case. So this is something technically possible, but currently not advised to allow.
But perhaps slightly related, something else I can share with you. Another AI case in the bank is to simply look at recurring support requests and finding patterns in that and providing the most likely answer, right? It's as simple as that. And believe it or not, but that's a huge business case by itself.
Right, I believe Heidi wants to ask a question.
Yeah. So we're talking about AI for development. It's the next new thing. Coming from a testing world, how do I test AI? So if code has been developed through AI, do I use AI to test the code that was developed with AI? How do I not get perfection, but how do I validate?
This you can actually really do, but you must define really your test cases independent of the code. You can really say to AI, I need a unit case for this, I need a functional test for that. This it can write, and still you will check it, and most of the time it will be correct. What is bad advice? Write the code and say, how would I test this code? Because then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe to Jean-Paul, if I may,
Maybe
Adam.
one more question we have time for.
Adam, just a sec. Rob wanted to say something.
So reportedly, developers really benefit from AI creating test code based on these externally mentioned specified test cases. I was wondering, Jean-Paul, if your Pilot Square team has had experience with that. So they use it for coding and explaining code?
I don't. To be honest, I don't know. But to add to the answer, we are emphasizing test-driven development, which basically means you have to do the test spec, everything up in advance. People don't do it, of course, not always, but yeah, that is the the remedy.
Okay. Final question.
Yeah. Hi. We know that mainly the cost on a software system is 80% on the support phase, so it's OPEX instead of CAPEX. Do you have any practical examples, specifically Jean-Paul or Lars, how Copilot saves time from maintenance? So how much time? I mean, for me, it's obvious that it saves time from the first 20% from the CAPEX to produce something initially. But how much time does it save from maintenance? So changing pieces of code, either for bug fixing or for enhancing functionality. Thanks.
Actually, it is already used for a much longer time versus this code generation. Because there are other AI systems for anomaly detection. This is normally a different field. But where it directly predicts which machine will go down before the machine goes down. So that you can shift the workload and fix the system up front. And similar things are roughly now the big dream for code. Do you really can identify code that will cause the mail function? Where it will go, if it will be successful by when, this is not clear. But really finding out this is a workload that will crash, this is already done some years ago.
What you mentioned, what you highlight is, the fact that productivity gain should not just be measured by looking at creating new stuff, but also by changing existing stuff, which can involve Copilot explaining code for you, which makes it easier to change, but also the aspect that AI-generated code, engineers didn't write it themselves, so it might be more difficult for them to, if they have to change it, to get ownership of it and improve it. So I think that the result is the recommendation that if you do a pilot square, then you really should measure, distinguish between changes of existing code and new code. That's a good point.
So my answer, qualitatively yes, quantitatively no. Qualitatively because we only had 50 applicants, we didn't know what we were doing. To be honest, the plan was a bit shaky. So, but I recall sharply one developer saying, it saved me like a week refactoring this code that we need to up, you know? So that's why next step is we are going to upgrade the pilot to 300 users with a proper plan. And part of the plan is indeed to get more quantitative material on all these use cases.
Okay. I just want to make a point. I read an article only this morning in the Guardian from an eminent scientist calling for more regulation of AI. Do we have anything to fear?
I mean, overall, I mean, this question comes again and again up, and I mean, the honest answer is yes, we need AI regulation. Because, you know, the question is always, please, one step back, what do we have currently in place? Before the EU AI Act, there was always like, but we have GDPR. Yes. The effect of GDPR on AI, what is it? If there is an automatic process called AI, you can say, I don't agree with the decision, and some other human in the company must review the decision. There's no guideline how to review it, and if something magically comes as large language models, who in the company will say, I disagree with AI? Yeah. I mean, he will just say, okay, Rob, thank you for making a complaint. You have checked it. I can confirm we agree with the decision. Bye. So there must be something more than this process. And this is just the state of GDPR. And that's why really AI regulation makes sense with all the other things. If you make no regulation, it will just optimize for the best economic benefit against the other person.
Either of you want to add?
What is to fear is some homework. Organizations doing some homework, creating an AI inventory, doing the risk analysis, just for the sake of preventing any disasters. It's just some homework that needs to be done. It's not new things that are forbidden. What the AI Act does, basically, is writing down the consensus when it comes to the rights of the individual. The laws are already there. They're just summarized and in terms of what is the legal consensus into clear rules what you can and cannot do. So it makes things clearer. And there's some homework involved just to prevent disasters, and I'm all in favor. I'm not afraid.
Final takeaways. What do you want the audience to take away with them?
Gents.
Okay, when I start, we should really keep in mind the evolution of our computer interface. We started with stem cards, we had a keyboard, we had a mouse, we had a touchpad, and in the not far future, we will just speak, like in Star Trek, Scotty to the machine room. This is roughly, in my opinion, just an evolution with this generative AI for coding. Now, it's an intermediate step to have the next computer interface being the human voice.
Okay.
Mine would be build on what you already have. I said it in my talk. You know, there's already so many processes and practices in place. Just build on that instead of setting up something new for AI and then learn as you go. As ABN AMRO is doing, gain experience, measure, and build from there. Don't be too intimidated. Just start.
Just do it. Jean-Paul.
Yeah, exactly. Just do it. So if you don't have a Copilot subscription yet, do it. Just try it out yourself. Seriously. Yeah. Oh, come on. What is it? 10 euros a month? I don't know. It's like Netflix level.
Are you on commission? Are you on commission?
I don't have. No, okay. I hate Microsoft. No, I don't. No, but really. See,
on that note, everybody, that's the final takeaway of today.
Well, if I may add a little bit to it, of course, we're here with Microsoft and ABN AMRO. It's not a coincidence that ABN AMRO is using GitHub Copilot because it's quite a largely used platform. It is just a coincidence that it's all about Copilot. We use it as sort of a short term, just like we use TomTom for navigation. right? It's a dominant technology, but we also have Code Whisperer and we have Google's Gemini. I just wanted to put that out there. There are multiple technologies.
Yeah,
Sorry,
but
Lars.
big but.
Yeah.
I do believe in GitHub Copilot for coding. I do not believe in generic other AI. The normal ChatGPT don't use it for coding because it's just simply worse because it doesn't have the quality data.
Yeah,
This is a whole other discussion I think we're going to take into the network. Thank you to our panel, Jean-Paul, Lars, and Rob. Thank you guys. Cheers.